tagging in it.
What's up, boys and girls? Dead Girl here, coming at you on a Wednesday evening. I've got some friends with me tonight. I've got some veteran Haunt actors. I have Heather and Josh are with us tonight. They are, Josh is a current Halloween Horror Nights actor. Heather worked for Horror Nights for years. She was also working at Dark Horizons. So first and foremost, thank you guys for joining us. And did I cover that? There's some more about you guys you want to tell the folks at home?
Not really.
You got it.
All right. Now, you guys have been haunt acting for how long have each of you been acting in haunts?
Heather, you probably have more than I do.
Oh,
I'm at 8 now.
8 years?
It was 10 at Halloween Horror Nights and 1 at Dark Horizon.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you guys have both been doing it for quite a while then.
I also took a 4-year break in between 2012 and 2017.
Yeah, I took the break until Dark Horizon came around, and then I was, that I'll audition for.
Nice. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. We got to check that out last year too. Now what got you guys into this in the first place? And why stick with it so long?
Go ahead, Heather.
Oh, okay. Ladies first.
Yeah, let's do that for now.
Mine was like it runs in my family. Like my dad, this last year was his 25th year working Horror Nights, and I've been going to Horror Nights since I was a little kid, and I loved it. And as soon as I was able to actually audition, that's when I knew. I was like, I know what I want to audition for. I know what I want to be. Like, that's what I want to do. And it was so fun.
That's awesome. And what about you, Josh?
Well, I was a theater kid in high school, so acting was kind of my deal. And I was, I guess, uber into horror and stuff because of my brother being into makeup and me being his guinea pig. So I'm like, let's go. He also, I think he was the first one to bring me to Horror Nights that I can remember at least, and scared the pee out of me and my younger sister. And then I was like, okay, let's go. I want to do this. This seems fun. Get paid to make people pee themselves. Yay.
I mean, I don't really think there's a better job than being able to just scare the shit out of somebody to the point where they scream like girls and run and or pee themselves.
Yeah. Like, scare the shit out of someone quite literally.
Oh God, that's a whole other mess.
I'm pretty sure I've done that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know you guys have both worked. Have you both been in the same section, or have you guys worked different sections? Because I know, Josh, you've mainly been chainsaws.
I don't think Heather and I have ever actually worked together during any of the haunts that we've worked. We've only met each other, I think, through friends of friends and all that kind of stuff over the years. Because once you're a character, you're part of this character group.
No, you're a family at that point.
Yeah.
No, I think like I feel like we both ran chainsaws one year, but it was in opposite zones.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Now, were you guys both always in chainsaws, or did you guys do anything else outside of chainsaws? Were you in either of the houses or anything else?
I've done 2 houses, and then the rest have been all streets. Not all of them chainsaws, but I was in 2 different houses in my earlier years. Before they're like, oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then they let me do more fun things.
Nice. And what about you, Heather? Were you always in the streets, or were you in any of the houses or anything?
I was in a house 1 year, and it was when they didn't have the Rat Lady and everything was Walking Dead.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was in a really big Walking Dead house. And I was like I made my own kind of character where I fluffed up my hair in pigtails, and it was blue at the time, so I was this like clown zombie. But that's the only time I've been in a house. But any other time, yeah, I was Rat Lady for 7 years, and
wow. Then. Now, did you prefer doing the Rat Lady?
I loved it. But, I also loved being a chainsaw. But I loved being rat lady just because it was one of those, I didn't have to kind of deal with the drunk guests. I dealt with them, but like it was more of a, I was enclosed, so I didn't get punched or like anything else. And I could just block them out completely and just hum to myself because there's a fan in there, so like you don't hear much anyways.
Oh,
Okay,
nice. So it
that's
helped to kind of keep you a little bit cooler. I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah. It was just easy to just be like, I'm just gonna block this out. Mm-hmm. Doing my own thing.
That's awesome. Now, how did you end up being the rat lady?
That's my original audition. I was asked what my favorite part was about the haunt, and I was like, I always loved the rat lady. And they were like, do you want to be here? And I was like, is this a trick question? Because yes. And they were like, are you willing to get a tetanus shot? And I was like, yeah. And then there you go.
So the rats didn't bother you at all. You were cool with having them all in there with you.
Oh no, I love rats. Like, it's weird. A lot of people are like, "Oh, they caused the bubonic plague," and
Yeah,
They're
like
so cuddly
centuries
though.
ago.
no, like they weren't even the cause of it
It was the
because
fleas on them, wasn't it? Or
no,
something like that?
I don't know if it was the fleas, but it wasn't the rats because rats are like if you can Google it, you can look it up. Rats are the cleanest rodent in the world.
Aw.
So I think it's funny that rats get such a bad rap because they're really like they're really smart and they're so clean that they get this horrible rap about them, and I'm like, But yeah, no. Sitting in there, I was totally down to being like, I don't care, throw them in on me, go.
What's the most rats you had in there with you at once? Do you remember?
We do 20 at a time.
Oh wow.
We'd get them from a breeder. We get 80 at a time, and set them up in groups of 40 for each different night. So each night there was a group of 40, and we would switch them between 20 one set, 20 the other set, so that they always
got a break.
Like, they would have the longest breaks, and they
Get
had their own
better
contract.
breaks than us.
Oh, they had their own contract. So
Wow.
So it was always funny when PETA would get mad at being like, you got all these rats in here and blah, and you're like, no, those rats are so well taken care of that no.
It's like they get better treatment than we do sometimes. I'm just kidding.
Oh, they got better treatment than those characters by far.
Oh wow.
Those rats were treated great.
No, that's awesome. She's always been a very iconic character when it comes to Horror Nights, and anybody that's, gone previously or anybody that's a huge fan definitely remembers that particular character. I know I was definitely a fan of her, and just, I love rats in general, so I was like, that's, yes.
That's why I loved it when they were like, you want to be her? And I was like, what? Because I used to see her, like, way back when I was a kid, and she was just in the parade. Like, she never stopped. There was never a time you could meet her. It was just, she would just go in the parade. And I would be like, I want that. I want to do that.
And then you got to be older and you were like, I did get to do that.
Yeah, I got to do that for 7 years.
That's awesome. And then after that, you did the streets for a few years as well, right?
Yeah, I did Chainsaw pretty much the rest of the time.
And I know you both have done chainsaws. What does it take to do something like that? I know it's very energetic, very taxing. You guys are out there for hours, roaming, and kind of, I see some of y'all, not you guys personally, but I see some people, chasing some of the guests down and just kind of messing with them a little bit. And I don't think people realize how much energy that actually takes to do it.
It's definitely not for the weak, that's for sure. If you don't have the will or the drive to do it, you're not going to be able to do it right, and you'll get gassed way easily or end up hurting yourself.
Oh, yeah.
There's many of characters who ended up dropping a couple weeks into it that have never done it before just because they couldn't handle the stress and the strenuous activity of starting the chainsaw repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again.
Because you also, like, people don't understand is when you start the chainsaw, you get the scare, but you have to just immediately shut it off. It's not like you can just keep it running and then just randomly walk up to someone and be like, "Vroom," because people hear you coming up and they can hear the tick 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 tick, and you're like, "No, that's not scary at all." So
it's a giveaway.
Yeah. And they're the newbies who don't get the hang of it right away that will do that. They'll sit there and they'll idle their saw, and then their saw techs will usually come around and be like, "Hey, cut your saw off each time, cut your saw off each time." And then they eventually will get in trouble at one point or another until they learn to
and
do
then
it right.
Chainsaw claw, everybody gets that. If you actually run the chainsaw long enough.
It doesn't matter how many years you've done it, you'll get chainsaw claw at least in the beginning of the run.
Just cramped, like
your hand will be like this, and you go to open it in the morning, you're like,
oh jeez.
It's just like the worst bruise feeling in the world.
Your finger, you'll lose feeling in your finger.
Callus happen like crazy.
Oh yeah, always wear gloves and tape.
Athletic tape is your best friend when you run out of chainsaw.
I got Ken in the chat. I think that's your dad, Heather, and he's like, "I'll yell at you if you keep it running."
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, my dad, yeah. Well, my dad's like OG chainsaw.
He is the chainsaw wolf, man.
That's right. Yeah, he's Chainsaw Wolf. You can't not listen to chainsaw rules from him.
That's when you're just like, all right, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to shut that off. Whoops.
Like, all right, I'm shutting it off right now. It's okay. And I mean, one of the things that I like about that area that they've got that it's over in Simpsons, and they never really put it on the map. They don't put it on the program. So it's always kind of a surprise as to what you guys are going to be wearing every year. And I know that they've changed it up, and they've had, clowns. They had last year an extension of like that arcade area. They did, what was it? Like the Freak Show and a few other ones. What are your favorite characters that you guys have gotten a costume in that chainsaw area?
Mine was definitely 2017 clowns. It was like we're undead clowns because like the theme behind it was that all the clowns that had died were upset that clowns were in the media as being like laughed at. Nobody was afraid of them anymore and all this kind of stuff. So they came back from the dead to show people that clowns are still scary and to torment people with chainsaws.
Okay.
It destroyed my voice that year, but I got to dye my hair blue and run around and talk in a high-pitched voice, and we broke so many rules that they had to invent new ones for us. Every night it was literally, hey, you remember when we said y'all could do this one thing? Yeah, we can't do that no more. So do something different. And that was just running. And then the next year it was right before the run started and we were getting our safety briefing about chainsaws. There was an entire list of things we couldn't do, and they're going down like, yeah, that was from clowns. Yeah, we did that in clowns. That was us. Oh, okay, cool.
What about you, Heather? What was your favorite?
I was never in that area with a chainsaw, so I was never in like, yeah, because I was the only time I was always on like New York or
okay.
Oh, that like side alley where the rednecks were.
Sting Alley or the Transformer Alley?
Right outside of Sting Alley. I forgot.
Yeah. It's like we call it like Transformers Alley now or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was in there as a traditional. I got to be there as a prisoner, a women's prisoner, and that was cool. And then mostly, I had more fun on New York as a hound with like running around crazy with a chainsaw because
that was an interesting year.
There was no stopping the hounds. Like hounds were just mental. So like we didn't get a lot of you need to be more like this character. It was like you guys are crazy, okay? Like because it was like
that's all you need to know.
Yeah, well, because there was the 3 factions, and it was like
that's right. I forgot about that.
one side was like more like the motherly peace side. The other side was like the like
Mad Max type deal.
And the hounds were just crazy. So we were like, I was like, I'm totally down. Like,
and Ken was saying that was the Lagoon side.
Oh yeah. The Lagoon side was the traditionals and the female prisoners.
I don't think we've had any chainsaws there in the last like 2 years.
It's been a while.
Last 2 years, like if we didn't have anything in what is it, San Francisco, we had saws there, and to 2018, opposite of the Springfield saws.
Yeah,
that's the closest thing.
And that was it there. Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you've got now, I know you guys have said it takes a lot of endurance. If somebody were to say, hey, this is something I want to do, what's the best piece of advice that you would give someone that's looking to get into acting in a haunt?
Be open-minded and don't expect too much. Like, don't go in expecting, oh, I'm going to get a street, or oh, I'm going to get a house, or oh, I'm going to get this role or that role, because you don't know what you're going to get. It's going to be, the people running the show that's like, hey, you're going to fit this role well for what we want you to do. Do your best at whatever role they give you, and you'll have fun.
We're like, don't stop trying.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't get a role one year, like, it doesn't mean that the next year they don't have a perfect spot for you. So it's all based on some haunts.
Yeah.
They're all based on, that's your body type. We just need to know your body type, what you look like, how tall you are. And then some haunts are just a lot more just like, we want you to be in here. We'll fit things to your body type, and we want you to go crazy. So even then, if you don't get cast in one haunt, go audition for another one, because
there's
the
plenty.
other one might be so much more fun to work than the bigger one that is the one you went for.
Right. The more well-known or more popular one, as it were.
Yeah.
The one that people consider more prestigious, I guess, as a character, but smaller haunts are usually pretty good as well. Like,
I get better scares at smaller haunts.
Exactly. Smaller haunts, they have less constraint on, like, how intense they can be sometimes. So.
Yeah. And because we have a lot less, like, that is one thing I will say. I loved working Dark Horizon, because it, like, even just to audition, like, you have to be scary to audition. You have to be able, like, they tell you, come show up. If you're going to audition, show up, like, ready to move. And so it's not even like, oh, you weren't prepared to go in there and then be like, oh, hey, try to scare me. They're like, show up ready to move. And then they make up a bunch of scenarios. Like, they posted videos of their audition process, and it was
awesome. I saw some of those. It looked very, very different from some of the other things I've heard.
It was amazing.
See, I don't have that experience. I've only done the larger stuff, I've only done the big.
Now, so what are the Horror Nights auditions like? Is it just, you can just kind of show up and they check you out?
It's a type out. It's, for the most part, it's a type out unless they, like, call you back for something specific that they need you for. But usually for, like, if it's your first time coming in, you've never worked Horror Nights, you've never worked within the company itself, you'll come in, they'll line you up in a group. Usually they're smaller groups now with their new system, which is really good in comparison to the old way that we used to do auditions. But you come in, you'll stand in front of the show direction, and they will have you say your name. It's kind of like slating for, like, an audition for any, like, movie or anything like that. You'll say your name. Usually it's like what your favorite horror movie is, or something of that nature, for people who have never, worked Horror Nights. Or if you've been to Horror Nights, what your favorite house or zone was. Yeah. And really, they're just looking at you, seeing if you're
the right body fit.
Right body fit, right height. If you're, timid, if you're, like, looking like you're really, really nervous, just standing there doing saying your name and doing just a small bit of talking. They don't care if you stumble over your words or anything like that. If you goof up, it's whatever. As long as you play it off fine, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely different from what I saw with some of the other auditions, like what Heather was saying with Dark Horizons, where like they had people moving and doing their thing just about, to get a good feel
I might
for
be
them.
wrong, but don't they only have so many spots to like fill, unlike some of these bigger haunts where they have people on reserve, they have people waiting in the wings to come in, scare.
Yeah. Even with the smaller haunts, we still have
that too. Okay.
Yeah, we still have reserves, or because we have swings that they use like every night, or we have reserves that we use like if we need you, if like we need someone that night, we'll call you and be like, hey, can you work tonight? Because we need to fill this role. But it's just a lot. I don't know. I loved working there a lot more because it was a lot more open-minded.
You had more freedoms to do things.
Yeah, it's not where bigger haunts tell you, oh, we want you to act like this. Like, we need you to not say anything. You're not allowed to, like, talk to the guests or anything like that. Where smaller haunts, you're allowed to talk to the guests. You're allowed to make your own character. And you can just play with it. Like, I was I was backup for Dark Horizon, but I feel like I was more a swing because I was there. I worked every night except for Halloween.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
I only took Halloween off because I had to take my daughter trick-or-treating. But I would have worked there every single night because I absolutely loved it. And I was a backup, so I was in a different role every night. And I loved it because I could be in a different spot every night and just, I could make up a character as long as you weren't cursing someone out or like going off of being like, F you, man, like, I don't care if you don't like this haunt, like, bye. It wasn't like you didn't, as long as you weren't doing something stupid like that, like, it was fine. And it wasn't as trying as bigger haunts where they're like, oh, you have this prop, but don't touch anything else. And you have this one area, because there it was like, oh no, you're free to kind of go into other areas, but we kind of want you to stick to like a certain zone. But then they also had swing rolls where you could be in one spot for 30 minutes and then you were in another spot for 30 minutes.
Okay.
So you were 2 roles in one night, which I loved. I loved that fact because I was like, oh, this is great. I could be a different character in different spots in the same night.
Oh, I know. We saw you moving around there, lady. Couple times.
That's one thing I missed last year. I didn't get the time off in order to go check out Dark Horizon.
It was
but
so
all the videos
good.
and stuff I saw, great. One of the guys who was on cast with me was also working Dark Horizons as well. And he was telling me about how he liked it. Oh, he did both events. I was like, "You're a madman."
Oh, I think I know who. Are you talking about Jordan?
Yeah.
He was one of our sliders.
Yeah, he was one of the sliders for Dark Horizon.
The sliders are so, and that's another thing.
I love sliders.
You don't find those at big haunts.
No, you don't.
I think the biggest one you find them at is like Howl-O-Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't find them really around Orlando anymore, though.
Mm-mm.
Besides, like, we had them at Horizon, and that was so. And they did their own show.
Yeah.
Like, they got to put on their own show and do that was so cool.
It was rad. It was awesome seeing them. I didn't expect it because, like you guys said, you don't really see sliders in Orlando, so it's not something that you really expect, whether it's a bigger haunt or even a smaller haunt, except Howl-O-Scream, but they're usually in one small area. So it was nice at Dark Horizons because they kind of roamed wherever.
Yeah, they were allowed.
I mean, I give guys who do sliding and chicks even to do it like all the props in the world. Like you think chainsaws are hard? Man, sliding I could not imagine. Besides just the pain of like landing on your knees constantly over and over again and getting back up. but having to be able to stop yourself before you run into somebody inches away from them and doing some of the stuff they do, that's some crazy stuff. I don't think I could do that.
I would watch them at Dark Horizon, like they would slide out and they would do spins in front of people. Oh yeah,
they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It was great.
Oh, they were so great. So for anybody that doesn't know what a slider is, it's like people that they kind of have like knee pads on. They have metal things on the tips of their toes. They have to like pretty much like duct tape on every night.
Oh Jesus!
And then so like longboard gloves too, right?
Yeah. Well, they got the gloves that have metal across the palm and on the fingertips.
Yeah.
So when they slide, because they have the metal, like they have their knee pads and the metal and on like every bit of where they're sliding, where they can slide, and then they put their like hands or their toes down, and it causes these sparks to just randomly appear while they're going across you. Yeah. So yeah, of course, people, especially in like a fog area, don't see that coming at all.
No.
So great.
They get great scares too, man, because like you don't expect it to be down below you or anything like that.
Yeah, and then they just suddenly like you see sparks, and then they're just right there in your face, and I'm like, oh, I loved watching them. I used to love watching them.
They were good.
If I were a younger man, I might give it a try, but not anymore.
Too old for that shit.
Yeah. I don't know how Jordan does it, man.
I got a few people chime in the chat how much they enjoyed Dark Horizons and the drinks. Oh my god. Dude, their alcohol was serious.
Funny story, while Jordan was a slider at Dark Horizon, he came up and I was in a different spot that night, and he was walking behind a group of people through one of the queue lines, because that's another thing you're kind of allowed to do. So he was walking with this group of people, and he didn't realize that I was where I was. And I jumped out to scare the group of people.
You got him, didn't you?
Oh, I scared the hell out of him. He was like, I didn't know you were there, and you got me so bad. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like,
that's a win.
You weren't sorry. Don't lie.
I was a little sorry at the time. It kind of made me feel good to like kind of scare a fellow character, not trying to.
Because it's rare to happen.
Yeah. I got Ken chiming in saying, Josh, you are a younger man, so you could do it.
Oh yeah.
My knees ain't that great.
Whatever, my dad knows you.
Oh yeah, he knows me. He was my ASM one year for your stage man. He was one of my. I just listened to him anytime he was in charge. I think he was my admin coordinator actually one year in Saws. So
my dad about anything where they're like, I just listened to him.
Yeah,
like,
just yes sir, no problem.
Yep, got you.
Your dad's the best. I love him to death. He's a great guy.
Aww, yay! I remember seeing him at Horror Nights, and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He's like in the scare, like at least in the HHN world, he's the pioneer for most all the things we do. Like if it was like something that's been done, it's like, yeah, Ken probably was one of the first ones to do it.
He's watching. Don't fill his head up too much. Okay?
It's too late. People in the chat are filling it up. Josh is filling it up. It's too late, man. And it's okay.
We wouldn't have HHN still around if it wasn't for Ken and the other guys that did it back then.
Well, okay, so that's still my dad. You need to like.
Do you know how cool your dad is, Heather? Come on.
Your dad is awesome, though. Let's be real talk real quick. Your dad is awesome, but you're awesome too. You're awesome in your own right. And you're awesome as well, Josh. I enjoy running into both of you guys at various haunts through the years. It's definitely lots of fun. Now,
I'm sure if he would have came on, like this wouldn't have been about me or you. It'd just be like straight interview with my dad.
like, sorry guys, I'm gonna talk to Ken. You can chime in once in a while. It's fine.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be an hour long probably. He's got too many stories.
We'll have to get him on. Ken, I'm gonna hit you up. We're gonna have to do a night with you.
25 years of stories.
Yeah.
I love it.
That was one of the best parts of having him working with him, is always hearing the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, it's happening. Your dad's coming on. So, which actually leads me into a couple of different questions that I had for you guys. I want your best and your worst guest experiences.
All right, so my best guest experiences, I can go and say those, kind of all day. The worst ones, some of those, you can't really get into too far in detail.
You don't have to give me super, super detail. A vague will be good.
So for my best one, my favorite thing to do when I'm a character is, like, if I see one person in a group is really, really scared, but it's not to the point where, like, they're going to break down, fall to the ground, and be a problem, I'll come up beside one of their friends and be like, what's their name? And then when I have their name, I have them. Because as long as I haven't been muted by show direction and say that I can't say anything, I will talk to this person and say their name, and they freak out usually the second you say Brittany or John or anything like that, and they'll go running away from you. And then you can just yell their name down the street and scare them even more and give them nightmares. Tell them you're going to wait under their bed or whatever, if it's a kid. I won't fit there. I'll have to be in the closet. And then I guess, like, my worst one, I was called a racist after a woman, like, was grinding on me, and I just said, "Hey, can you go away?"
She said, "No, I'm gonna do everything."
Not to me. No. Somebody maybe, but not to me. But and then, like, she wouldn't leave me alone, so I started walking away to go to a coordinator, and she started following me, yelling, "You're a fucking racist. Do you do this to everyone?" I'm like, "When they act like you, yeah."
Jesus.
And I kept walking to my coordinator, and by the time I got to him, she had disappeared, and I was telling him everything that had happened, and, so if we saw her, you could talk to her. And then she shows up out of nowhere right in the middle of the two of us, pointing her finger at my chest, saying, "You're a fucking racist," right in front of some sheriffs. And then the sheriff stepped in and talked to her. And while I was filling out a witness statement, like, "Hey, you only got 5 minutes left on your set. Just go on backstage to the break space and start your break early." 4 minutes later, they come to me and say, "Hey, stay in the break room. Don't come outside. She's being escorted out in handcuffs." I'm like,
"Yay!"
Okay. I have no idea what happened after that. I didn't want to make it go that far because, all she said was words.
Right.
So didn't bother me at all. But I guess something happened with her and the cops. I have no clue.
What about you, Heather? What's your best and worst?
So I'll go for my worst first.
Okay.
I think it was because me and my dad were we were in the same zone and the same cast together when we were hounds. And a lady walked up, and I knew it was like a multiple effect, because a lady walked up because he walked up beside her friend for a scare. And he had the saw and walked up and wasn't even going to rev it, was just standing next to her to wait till she, kind of turned to even look at him. Mm-hmm. Because she kind of seemed terrified. But her friend was drunk standing next to her, decided to shove my dad and say, "Get away from her." So that triggered me because I'm like, "Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
Blood." So I went over and I'm like, "Yo, you don't touch people."
Yeah.
And so she pushed me.
Jesus.
Which then got my dad mad because
it's the same thing where it's like, "That's my daughter." No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Either one of us are like, we're not okay with watching the other one get hurt or hit anything. So we call people over. I'm like, "Oh no, like, we need people over here." So they pull her aside. She starts crying. We're filling out witness statements that, like, this chick is just drunk and, like, just hitting people.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay. And we were like, yeah, like we want her to go.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And then decided that they were like, we're just going to give you, like, they told her, we're just going to give you a warning.
What the
and told them that they should just leave. So she proceeds to kind of walk towards the front of the park and then go hit another's character.
Jesus. I don't get it.
I think she got kicked out or trespassed. I think she just kind of got away with hitting everybody she could because she was crying and was like, I didn't know you couldn't touch this characters.
No.
Bullshit?
Yeah, that's a lot of bullshit. No. Common sense, you don't put your hands on people.
Well, what do they say about common sense? It ain't very common.
It's not.
Out to security saying she didn't know she couldn't touch the characters and then was allowed to walk out by herself with her group and then proceeded to hit another's character.
No.
Yeah, it was rough. That was like
character ever like seeing another character get hit. It's always one of those,
It's a family thing. It's no.
Yeah. That was my most heated experience. Like, because I've dealt with some messed up guests that say some weird stuff.
But words are just words, and you can let that float off your back like water off a duck.
Right.
That one got me because I was like, she didn't know it was my dad, but I knew. I was like, you don't know. That's one person, like, you cannot mess with in my life. Like, I will kill you.
And rightfully so. And I think, most of us feel that way about our parents, and vice versa. They feel that same way too. Well, so I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with shitty customers. It sucks. Alcohol definitely adds a big factor in it. And a lot of horror stories I've heard, from characters have been because somebody's drunk and they're acting stupid and saying stupid things and doing stupid things or touching or, just shit that they shouldn't be doing. So it's definitely a huge factor, I think, with a lot of people.
That's one thing. Yeah.
What's your good experience?
Anybody that knows me knows that, like, I'm a big daddy's girl. So that is a big problem for me. I'm like, don't touch my dad.
I'm the same way. So I totally understand. Trust me. So what's been your best experience? Let's switch it to something good.
Best one is like the sweetest thing ever. Because I was the rat lady for 7 years. I had this little girl who would come every year, and she would come like she got like a frequent fear kind of pass. So she would come almost like as many nights as she could, but she was like a little girl. And I would see her since like year one of working rat lady. She would come and she would always come up and because there was always other people that were like, oh, she's nasty. And she's like, no, she's not. Shut up. That's my friend.
Aww.
Little fun girl. And she would come up to the side of my coffin and just put her hand on the side. And I would put my hand on the side like where her hand was.
You had that window moment.
Oh, she was the sweetest thing. Like, she didn't get scared of any of this characters. She knew it wasn't real. Like, she was like, whatever. And, like, she kind of stood up for the characters. But she loved the rat lady. So I got to make a painting for her of a rat. And I asked all my coordinators and stage managers, I was like, can I please, instead of, like, giving this to one of my rat handlers, and have them give it to her, can I have like a special meet and greet with her because I can't talk to her on set?
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we can pull her off in the hallway and that'll be all right. And that was the sweetest thing ever because it was like I made her dreams like it was like a Disney moment that wasn't totally gore-filled Disney moment.
Aww. So it was perfect.
Twisted Disney
moments. Little girl's dreams come true by making her a painting and like writing a bunch of stuff on the back of it, signing it, and being able to have a special meet and greet and to like telling her come in this hallway, like and like giving her a hug and telling her like you're gonna be the next rat girl, don't worry. And like she was so cute. Oh,
that's awesome.
I loved that little girl.
That's so awesome. I love that so much.
Yeah, that's my best experience working on.
Aww. That's awesome. What about you,
Josh?
You got any heartwarming Disney moments?
Heartwarming? I mean, not really. Like we have like character family that have kids, and they always bring their kids when they're real little because they're the ones who don't get scared usually. Yeah. Mostly, it's always the youngest kids are usually the best ones to deal with. Like they're usually not the ones causing issues. It's the bloody teenagers that are always the ones causing issues. Yeah. But I mean, I think last year we did a photo thing with one of our fellow characters who had a child recently. Like they were like maybe a year old or something like that, and it got into like Think Geek and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was kind of cool. Or Geek Thrive, something like that. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I mean, I brought Dahlia, my daughter, every year except for last year.
I remember you bringing her last few years.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Because she had her own little mini chainsaw, and she would chase the killer clowns around.
That's awesome. Oh my god, I saw her.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I remember seeing her. I was like, I kind of had to do a double take. I was like, that's the best thing.
Yeah, she had her little mini chainsaw. Well, it's my dad's mini chainsaw, but Dahlia likes to claim it as hers. And yeah, she would chase them. That was the year, I think, yeah, you were on with the carnies.
Yeah. I was Morris.
Yeah. Dahlia won a boo buck that year from chasing people around, and she actually scared a group of people just from walking, and people were like, oh my god, like thinking there's a tiny child with a chainsaw.
I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, my dad gave her a boo buck. It was so cute.
That's awesome. So then are you guys, now I know there's a big debate in the haunt community where a lot of people are either, you're pro having kids come or you're against having kids come. Are you guys, I'm assuming you guys are pro to bring the little ones?
I mean, I'm pro to an extent. Like, I don't think a parent should be forcing a child to come to it. Like, if you bring your child, you need to understand that, hey, your kid could get freaked out to the point where you need to leave.
Right.
And you don't sit there and just say, oh, no, you're fine, and keep pushing them through, scare zones where they're being terrified and going to, have to have psychiatric help later in life. Like, if you are a parent who lets your kids watch horror movies and, you've taught them that, hey, this is fake, it's makeup, it's fun, and all that kind of stuff. Like my nephew, Tristan, he loves horror stuff right now. Like, he's crazy about it. And
good.
I guarantee if his mom would let him, he'd be, okay in at least the scare zones for now. I don't think he'd be able to do the houses, but he'd probably have fun with it. It depends on the kid to me.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the kid, but also I feel like, because I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, like, because I got a lot of criticism bringing Dahlia, and they were like, oh, why would anybody bring their child to this? Like, it's causing mental scars. And I'm like, okay, what you don't understand is that all of these people are my friends.
Yeah.
And I consider family. Then I also have my actual family, so my daughter can walk in and go, Grandpa, no matter what he looks like.
She knows what's underneath all that.
Yeah, she's like, Grandpa, or she'll be like, Uncle Brandon, and then she'll be like, oh, these are Mommy's friends. She doesn't see them as scary characters. Right. She sees them as Mommy's friends.
Her mommy's weird friends.
Yeah, so especially like if you grew up with like the haunt community, like you always consider each other like family anyways. So really it's just bringing your kid in to go, oh, hey, you want to go see like Mommy's friend or like Auntie, like,
want to go see Uncle Josh or Aunt
Heather
or Grandpa,
it's like bring your kid to work day kind of deal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except our work is very different.
It's like just like the little girl that I had that was obsessed, like loved the rap movie, and like I loved that little girl, but she was not scared, and she would be like, Like she would tell off people, like the drunk people that were like, oh, whatever, you're not scary. And she'd be like, they don't care. She was just so great that I was like, oh, I love this kid.
And I mean, most characters, when we see like a young kid, we can tell from body language that, yo,
if they're okay with it, or if they're actually
wet
like
themselves if I come up, even a little, hostile in any kind of way or aggressive in any kind of way. So usually we'll either, fist bump or just like, do like, hey, it's normal, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then we'll go about our business. We won't sit there and linger and, break atmosphere or anything like that. We'll just do something quick.
Yeah. And there's certain characters that like they try to go out of their way to scare kids. But I feel like you're not really an actual character if you go out of your way to scare a kid, but you didn't go scare like that big guy because that was the easy scare.
Right. Go for the guys that are those big tough guys. You go for the hard ones.
The ones that look like they're linebackers in football.
I mean, to be fair, Josh, you're a big dude.
Scream like little. The big guys that scream like little girls are more fun.
They are.
Like, I'm gonna pick an easy target, like a giant.
I love the Simpsons bridge so much.
Oh yeah, the bridge gets everybody. Now I do have a question. I've got Ken's chiming in the chat. He said it depends on the child and definitely not if they're a helicopter parent. What's a helicopter parent?
When they're hovering around the parents, so like if the child's not even that scared, but the mom's got their arm over their head, no, go away, don't do that, no. And I'm like, woman, I'm gonna scare you and your child in a second if you don't stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because moms will go like straight up like linebacker, like try to be like, ugh. To be like, don't come near my kid's stroller, and you're like, well, you shouldn't have brought them here then.
If you have a problem with your child getting scared at a haunt, don't bring them.
Get a babysitter.
That's what you gotta do.
A babysitter costs less than a Horror Nights ticket. Just saying.
Oh, it does. And that
especially
babysitter can stay overnight for less than that.
Or something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got a couple people Cheryl's chiming in. She's like, my kids bring me in. I'm always scared. Ma, you're fine. Cheryl's an older gal who is not so much into horror, but she comes and hangs out anyway.
I think I love that just the same is when the kids are like, I brought my mom here so I could watch her get scared. It's still fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
I do that to my stepmom. I'm like, let's go. Because she's a scaredy cat. Like, she'll be in the kitchen doing dishes, and I'll walk up and stand next to her, and she'll jump 10 feet in the air. So bringing her to something like any kind of haunt is the best thing in the world, and I just sit back and I watch her because she's jumpy, and everything gets her. So it's a good laugh. For me. Not so much for her, but for me, it's a great laugh.
Oh, yeah. I always like going... Like, I used to love going through the houses with people that would get really scared and jumpy because I was like, oh, because then if they would jump on me, that's like the only way I could get scared. So I'd be like, why are you jumping on me?
There's a lot of times where I would end up going through houses on my own whenever I would go to the event myself. Like, if I'm just there by myself and I haven't met up with any friends. So I'd like stand out front of a entrance to a thing. I'd be like, waiting for the perfect group to go in right before I do, so I can follow behind them and just laugh my butt off.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
It's great.
I think the only time like I went in through some of the houses when they were like it was before like they let everybody out of their little corrals. The like annual pass holder corrals.
Yeah, oh yeah, we know.
So the houses would open, and I would get, like, I'd already be at the house, but I'd already be at the park. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go through this house. And there was no one. So, and it was still bright. So you're walking through a completely, like, pitch black house just by yourself is the best.
I think that's why I like a lot of the smaller haunts. Because you get that pacing where they'll put in, like, your group, and that's it. So that you don't get to see, like, what's coming ahead of you, or you just miss it because they got the group behind you. I enjoy that so much more because you get a better experience scare-wise.
will just attack your group, and then we'll be able to have the chance to reset, and then
so do the next group
doesn't know.
Yeah, without them like seeing you and going, "Oh wait, watch, he's gonna jump out over here." I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I could go on for like an hour on things that people do at Horror Nights that annoy the hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
Like, that could be a whole segment.
So coming up next, no.
Right.
Well, I don't think a lot of people don't, in their minds, they don't realize that you guys are there to do a job, and your job is to scare the crap out of them. And when people go and they decide that they're going to show off in front of their friends, and whether it's mocking or pointing out a scare or ruining, a scare for somebody else, it's not only rude to the people that they're with, but it's rude to you guys as actors working that event.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I've met the time that comes from, like, teenagers that are, like, trying to look tough in front of their friends.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's my favorite.
Like,
I love it when there's a gaggle of teenagers, like couple boys and teenage girls, and the boys are trying to act all hard and everything. So I just walk up to them, scare the piss out of the little boys, and then the girls are giggling at them and pointing their finger. And I'm like, "Have a great night, guys. Good luck."
I do enjoy those. We've gotten behind a few groups of like the tough guys that are like, "I'm a badass," and you're like, "Hey," and then they end up screaming like girls through the whole house.
Yeah.
I got a story. I got Ken chiming in with a story. He says there was one child when he was in traditionals that was terrified. The parents asked him to talk to them and let him know it was okay. And he said that you guys happened to have cupcakes in the break room, and he had a plastic pumpkin decoration that he stuck in his headband, and he gave it to the little kid and told him it was a magic talisman that scared the scarecrows away. That's awesome. I had a few of my castmates hide from it. The kid loved it and spent the rest of the night scaring the street characters. See, that's awesome.
And the funny thing is, if that would have got around to the rest of the park, all the characters would have done it because Ken said so.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember that story because he told me that the night that it happened. Because I think I was on his street that night because he always kept it in there, and he was like, "I'm waiting for like a specific kid to give it to," and then
Aww.
that was really like scared, and he was like, "It's okay, you can take this," and pulled it out of his bandana and was like,
"This will keep you safe."
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Like, no.
See, that's awesome. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you guys aren't heartless people trying to go, like you said earlier, trying to go for the little kids or the easy scares, it's a different thing. And you've got a lot of people who complain that are like, well, they tone it down if there's kids around. Well, yeah, dude, because most of the time the kids that you're toning it down for are kids that you can tell are scared out of their minds and don't want to be there.
Yeah.
There are plenty of kids that are like, 5 to 8 years old that are having a blast, love getting scared. And like, I go up and I'm like, I won't go as hard as I would go for like, someone my size, but I'll go and I'll like prod at them and like, I'll start the chainsaw right next to them, but I turn it off quicker than I would. Like, I'm not going to sit there and rev it right next to their head.
Right.
But still, I will start a chainsaw next to a kid that looks like they're, walking around trying to act like they're big and tough, to act like they're not scared. And I'll scare them and like, "Oh, what's wrong? What happened to all that confidence?" And then they'll giggle and laugh and run to their mom or dad. I'm like,
yeah.
It's fun for them too. Some kids get that it's, just for fun.
Right. That's awesome. I got in the chat, I got somebody asking, what are your top 5 things that a guest should not do?
Ugh.
There's too many to pick, but
what are the first couple that pop right in?
Besides the obvious of don't touch us, we're not going to touch you, and if we end up brushing into you, we will most likely break character to say sorry. We'll apologize if we were in the wrong of like touching you by accident, because it happens. We're avoiding people. Stuff gets crowded. Don't try and scare the characters. You're not gonna do it. Like,
no.
We're around this crap so much, and unless it's like someone on their first year as a character and maybe their first week, maybe you'll get one of them, but after like the mid run, they're desensitized to all of it at that point, to where you're not going to be able to scare them, and they've heard so many people yell at the back of their heads, and it's just asinine.
Also, yeah, don't ever be like, oh, you're not scary while you're like super far away, because we don't care, because we're just going to look at you and be like, well, thanks for wasting your money, bye.
That, or you'll get someone who looks like me that people think is fat and slow, and I'll sprint up to you in 3.4 seconds and start a chainsaw and have you running away.
Yeah.
That's my favorite comment to hear under people's breath, is whenever I do a quick jerk snap with a chainsaw, and like, oh, he's quick for a big guy. Well, so are linebackers.
Yeah. Like...
so are linebackers.
Just because I'm big don't mean I'm slow. I love doing that. It's so much fun. I don't know. I can't. It's hard to like think of it right in the moment of, oh, what shouldn't someone do? Don't be a dick. Yeah. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Just
remember that.
Don't be a dick.
Remember that characters are human beings. We all have families. We all like have different things going on in our lives. You could end up hitting someone in the face because you got scared, and you think, oh, they shouldn't have done it, but you just ruined this person's, not just their night, but possibly their job, because they're not going to come back because they're afraid of getting hit again.
Yeah.
And usually the ones who get hit aren't the people my size. They're people they're like
small.
Heather's size or smaller.
Whoa, I ain't that small.
You know what I mean. I'm not talking height. I'm talking petite. It's usually a lot of the girls get hit more than guys do.
Also don't grope the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has happened.
Like, I don't care if they're wearing skimpy outfits. You can look from afar. You don't need to touch them.
Oh no, yeah, because that's happened way too many times. Or
we've had to change costumes for people in years past because of issues like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Don't you dare! If you do, and I'm glad has never.
Characters like myself, when we see that kind of crap, we'll get in your face and we'll bark at you. We don't. Yeah. At that point, it's out the window. We'll make a hoot and holler until one of our coordinators or supervisors come over, and then we'll take the consequences later.
That's because we work as a family, and that's how it rolls.
And that's how it should be.
The big guys are usually watching out for their smaller characters. Just remember that.
Yeah.
I get Ken chiming in. He's saying, don't touch us, scream at us, don't try to point out the scares. I agree with that. Don't try to point out the scares. It ruins it for everybody. That also falls under the don't be a dick category.
Let it happen so you can laugh at it. It's fun.
Yeah, being like, oh, there's someone right behind that wall. And you're like, well, great. Thanks. They just ruined it for like everybody behind you as well that was like wanting that scare.
Or that's anybody like that was in earshot that could have heard you.
Yeah. That's like all the assholes who ruin like big movies like Endgame or whatever. Like, oh, this person dies at the end. You're a dick.
Yeah. It's like, it goes back to the same thing of people being like, oh, you're not scary. And you're like, well, thanks for wasting your money.
Right.
Like,
And not to mention the fact that you probably couldn't do it better if you tried, Pumpkin.
There's a reason we're doing it and you're not.
You're gonna try it. Go for it. Come on, boo.
Go ahead. Go audition. Auditions are usually, July-ish area for some places.
There's another one of like telling people like, oh, you're so ugly. And then having the response of being like, yeah, at least mine washes off, man. Like,
what's funny for me is I get hit on a lot more when I'm in makeup than I do in normal life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a lunatic running around with a chainsaw and you're saying, hey baby, how you doing? I'm like, what?
I can't
First off, if that's what you're into, I'm not biting. Second off, you're crazy.
Yeah, I haven't straight up been like, oh my god, yeah, baby, to like a character, but I can't say that I'm not the person that has been like, oh my god, that guy is so hot, and then him out of makeup and been like, ew. Oh wait, no. Like, with all the gory makeup on, I was like, yo, this guy. And then out of it, I'm like, wait,
I'm taking that all back.
Yeah, it's all reversed. Nope, bye.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm totally guilty of that. Not guilty of the cat calling, but definitely guilty of finding someone way more attractive in makeup than out.
That's the only time I'm like, I know what women are talking about when they're like catcalling. I'm like, I feel that. And usually it's at the worst point in time. Like, oh God, why?
Yeah. You're like covered in sweat and gross, and you're like,
yeah, like I am the grossest I possibly could be, and you're saying I look attractive.
Yeah.
Thanks.
To each his own, I guess.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know what else I could say about things people shouldn't do. If you know you're scared and you're a flailer, finish your drink before you go anywhere scaring.
Yeah.
That's
if you throw a drink on a character, half the time this character is going to try and get you removed from the park. Depending on if they believe it was intentional or if it was just an impulse.
Dude, I've had people unintentionally do it, so I'm like, oh.
But usually you don't get soaked in that. It's usually like your sleeve will get a little bit of it, but not like your entire body. I've had one just chuck a drink right in my face.
Oh,
that was really like one fun thing is to see how many blinky cups you could scare out of people's hands.
They stopped that on the streets. We're not allowed to do that anymore. We can't collect trophies.
What? You're not allowed to collect trophies anymore?
No, we're not allowed to collect trophies anymore. At least on the streets. I don't know about the house. I haven't been in a house in years. But in the house,
there's so many things you can't.
The last house I was in, I got like 30 trophies from people dropping them when I scared them.
There's so many fun things that you can't do there anymore that that's why I'm like, I don't want to work it anymore.
Are they? So it sounds like they're pretty strict on what you can say, what you can do, what you can act.
Well, because, I mean, at HHN, they've got the eye of the world on them.
Right.
Anything and everything is like, I don't represent Universal in any way. I'm just talking from my personal experience here. They get PR issues all the time. They have people in their guest services all the time complaining about stuff.
They do that on a regular basis without HHN.
That they think that they're going to get something for free out of it a lot of the times. It's sad, but they have to do what they have to do to protect themselves.
I mean, I get it. I understand it. That's like, personally for me, like when I go to Horror Nights, I go for the scenic because it really is pretty.
It's beautiful.
I go to see my friends that are acting in houses or in zones.
That's the major draw of like why we put so much money into stuff, and it's beautiful. It's it's the top scare attraction for a reason. We have the money to do it, and we put the money into it.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is, and it's great, and like I said, I mean, we enjoy going, but like personally, I like the smaller haunts for that scare the scareability.
Definitely,
I get more scares going at a smaller haunt than I do going to one of the larger ones.
It's funner to work the smaller haunts too. Like
Heather, is funner a word?
It is now, Josh.
It is way more. It is way more funner. Small haunts. Yeah, no, it's way more fun to work the small haunts because the audition process was it's not so judgy. It's just like, hey, we want you to and they let you kind of let loose for a little while, shake your arms around, walk around, and then
I might have to try and go for one year and try and pull a Jordan and try and work both.
Sadly, this year's kind of a lot of haunts are not happening, sadly, because of what's going on at present with the world.
It's understandable, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was like, it's understandable, but I'm super bummed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very bummed, but I'm also thankful that a lot of them are taking in not only guest safety, but staff safety. Oh. So I can appreciate that. But it's still a bummer because I'm like, my haunt season is just going from this to just
yeah.
Well, Well, even like
I'm,
Spooky was like canceled till August, and now I don't even know if that's gonna happen.
yeah.
They're still slated to go, as far as I know. Spooky's still happening. They sent out, they updated their blog with some safety measures and whatnot, so they're still going.
I mean, all I can say in the fact that, yeah, sure, maybe some of the smaller haunts won't, be able to operate this year, but maybe that means next year they'll be able to come back bigger, better, and scarier than the years prior. Because they maybe can save the money that they had, not had to use for this year and dump it all into next year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. And even Ken saying back when he started moons ago with HHN, the auditions were a lot more involved than what they were up about 12 years ago.
I mean, that event's changed a lot since, the first time Ken's, did the audition to what it is today.
Because he's been working there since it
I know.
It wasn't HHN.
It was Fright Night.
It was Fright Nights. He's the original. He's the OG.
He is the OG. That's for damn sure.
It's crazy to me. Like when I talk to people, I'm like, they're like, "Oh, do you know how many people have done Horror Nights forever? Like, for how long do people normally do it?" I'm like, "Well, I know a guy who's done it since the very first year and kept going strong up until last year or so. Like,
yeah."
So some of them do it a very long time.
From I don't think it was the first year, but he's definitely done it.
One of the first.
They're at third. Well, this was supposed to be 30. Yeah, he's done 25.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
He also missed 1 year. So.
And then he's done years where he was, back of house type stuff too, where he was coordinator or ASM or anything like that too.
Yeah.
So he's been involved at least in some way for a long time.
You're gonna have to give me 2 minutes. I gotta check on the child.
check on the kid.
Check on the kid. Look at my beautiful green chair. It's not.
It is a pretty swanky chair. He says he didn't work. All right, so Ken said he didn't work Fright Nights. He started at. Oh my God, I'm horrible at Roman numerals. IV 5 is that 6?
IV is 4.
4. I'm again Roman numerals. I'm horrible.
The V is 5. The 1 being in front of it makes it 4.
4. Okay. That's what it was. It was 4.
If it's behind it, it adds the 1 to whatever is in front of it.
You're so smart, Josh.
I can't help it. I'm a nerd and I watch History Channel.
I do love the History Channel. It is good.
It's a great channel.
No, that's awesome. See, I didn't. There's a lot more that goes into those events than what the general public would see. As far as audition goes, what you can and cannot do, what's expected. On average, how many nights do you normally end up working?
Usually I try and get you to work as many as you can. So when they'll ask you what your availability is, and that factors in on if you're going to be cast. If you say, "Hey, I can only work Wednesday and Thursday of the events," well, that means you've only got 7 nights that you can actually work.
Right.
So if you say, "Hey, I can work every night, but these 2 nights," you're more likely to be except sure, you can have 2 nights off. That's fine. I usually only ask for about 2 nights off when I audition, and those 2 nights are usually for me to go and either enjoy the event that I'm working or go to a different haunt. I think one year I asked for 5 nights off, and that was only because 4 of the nights I got off for doing haunt stuff that I wanted to do and spooky.
Yeah.
And then one night was kind of last minute. It's hey, my sister decided to have her wedding before I was able to tell y'all the availability. She moved it up a year. So can I get that 1 extra day off so I can go be in this wedding?
I kind of got to be there for that thing.
Yeah, kind of got to be there. I'm in it. So that one they were luckily enough able to work with me and get me. But usually you want to try and work as many as you can. Okay. If you know that your day job isn't going to help you out and not make it easy on you, it's fine. But I mean, some people are able to do it. Hey, I can only work these couple of days, and they'll still get it. Because if you're a body type that they really, really need, they'll put you. Yeah, they'll take you for a fire crew or active backup and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I love about, again, see, that's why I'm like, I love the little haunts, because you can give them your availability of being like, hey, I can only work these few days. Where big events or big haunts are going to be like, well, we don't want you at all.
Right.
And little, like the smaller haunts are going to be like, sweet, like if you want to work just those few days, like we'd love to, like they just love to have like the extra hands, like,
Yeah.
and you, even if they don't have, like, where bigger haunts, they have specific spots you have to be in.
Right.
Where other haunts, we can just make a spot for you to be in if you want.
Mm-hmm.
And because that happened to me one night, and it was one of my favorite spots to be in, where I was like, this is great.
I'm going to hang out here for now.
One of the interesting things I heard tale of from Dark Horizon, at least, was the secret bars within houses.
Yes, we found them.
That seems like such a cool and interesting thing to do. I don't know how well it went over because I didn't get to go and experience it, but
there was one secret bar, and then also there was like, it was kind of like a scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was cool.
You would have to get, like, because you had the one secret bar that if you got a coin, you had to get a coin. Mm-hmm. If you got a coin, you had to find the secret bar inside of the pirate ship.
Okay, that's cool. See,
it wasn't a known thing though. You didn't know what house the bar was in. They don't tell you shit. You would have to go to different characters, and you would have to say certain phrases or ask certain questions for them to either give you an item that you would have to bring to the next character, give you a clue, and some of the characters would straight up give you a token if you said the right words, but they wouldn't tell you where the bar was. You had to find it.
That sounds fun. Like, I think I would enjoy doing that kind of deal.
You had to find the bar, but then there was also, you could go on this, like, kind of scavenger hunt, or you could be, there was like, okay, so there's the scavenger hunt thing where you would get a coin, you'd have to find where you had to give up the coin to get a feather, and then you'd have to find where you had the feather to get something else, and I don't even remember what it was at the time.
I don't either.
But you had to go house to house, and you had to find a specific character, and if then there was our, like, VIP thing where one person in your group had a glow necklace.
Yep.
And we had our VIP characters who knew, and, like, so they already knew, like, this character is going to grab you if you want, but they didn't know where. So they would have to be, like, they signed, like, a thing, got their glow necklace, and went into the house willing to be grabbed, because we would be like, okay, no, you're not going to go through the house, because we had secret tunnels for them to go through.
That's cool.
So they had to go through, like, cool secret tunnels, and it was so dope. It was so dope.
And see, like the coolest thing I think that the bigger cons have done is stuff like back when we had Legendary Truth for, like, the people who came every night, and they would do
that's funny. Ken just said that in the chat.
Legendary Truth was one of the best things that I think the HHN's done, and I wish we would do more of it. I mean, I don't know what the logistics behind doing something like that is, or how difficult it is logistics wise, but I know
I'm gonna for those that don't know, what is Legendary Truth?
Legendary Truth was I believe it was a Universal created, like, theme for, like, their paranormal investigators, and then throughout the years, like, there would be things where they do kind of like scavenger hunts and web hunts on the website had, like, games and stuff you could figure stuff out,
like clues and things.
And then one year you had, I think it was 2012, when we had the hordes, which were roaming. It was the first year we didn't have any set like zones in the streets, like, and everything rotated. You would have these, like, cards that were RFID, like, thing, and every time you go to a house, you tap them and you get, like, points towards stuff. It was all kinds of cool, fun scavenger hunt type stuff. And I think at the end of it, like, whoever, like, whatever team or whatever had the highest points, they had, like, a special secret house or something they got to do, or something like that. I can't remember, or I don't know. It was a while ago.
I don't remember if, like, Legendary Truth were ever, like, really active with, like, a different character in every house, though.
No, it wasn't like that in depth. It was just you had to go to each house and get through it, and they had the little tap point at the end of the house.
Oh, okay.
So in order to get your points, you had to make it through the entire house.
Ah.
Okay. That I'm like, okay, because, but I still like the concept of you have to find what's character in that place, so you have to actually talk to every character.
At a smaller haunt, I can see how that would be, more feasible to do it. Something like HHN, that's logistically
says, well, at HHN, you have to walk in a fucking corral of people. And at smaller haunts, you get to go in with your own group. Yep. And especially, if you're the person wearing a glow stick, you get yanked from your entire group. Your whole group has to walk ahead. You get pulled behind to go your own way.
Yeah. That was...
that was really cool. That I was I loved that. I got to be one of those roles one night where the rest of the group was no, we're going with them. And I'm nope.
No, you're not.
It's only the one person with the glow stick necklace that gets to go, and all the rest of you have to go.
Well, the next time Dark Horizon's up and running, I'll have to try and at least go out for
get a hotel. Get a hotel room.
I didn't get to go.
It's so good.
The drinks are legit. They don't mess around with their pours. Get a hotel room because you're gonna get smashed.
I mean, anytime I go to a haunt, I usually tend on getting a hotel room.
Okay, so that's one thing. If you plan on working Dark Horizon, employees are not allowed to drink the event the event, even if you're off that night.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to drink.
Oh, so even if you attend as a guest that night, you're not allowed to drink?
Yes, you're not allowed to buy drinks there.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, unlike HHN, if you're off for the night, you can still drink the night.
Right.
No, Dark Horizon, Dark Harbor, if you're off for the night, and you're not allowed to come in and drink as a guest. You can come as a guest, but they don't want you to drink.
I'm sure they have their reasoning. It's got to be something to do with having employees on property intoxicated, even if they're not working.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It does.
It does to me too.
I'm a big drinker. I've been drinking this whole time. Well, now I'm drinking water, but.
Are you sure it was in a mason jar? I couldn't tell if that was water.
I saw a giant bottle back there earlier.
I have my water, my ice water. I was drinking a beer. I was drinking a Killian's. And then I've been taking shots of this whiskey. But...
I mean, I like the bigger haunts and I like the smaller haunts, all for different reasons, and I think that they're
all have their value
to experience, and each have a different value, for their customers. But I did enjoy the scavenger hunt thing with Dark Horizon. I thought that was the coolest thing because we've never experienced that in a haunt. And I read that they were doing it, and JD and I went, and a bunch of our friends went with us, and we got to kind of participate a little bit in that, and we found the secret bar, and the secret bar was great. My only complaint about it is it was so damn hot in there because it was small, and people were finding it and cramming in, and it was just like a giant sweat box. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. Otherwise, it was really cool.
Might be into that.
We tried to figure it out as we went on of how to figure out that if there was so many people in there, we couldn't allow, even if you found it, they would tell you hey, come back later and we'll just instantly let you in.
Yeah.
Because it was
deal.
It got to a point where a lot of people all found it, and they were swarmed in there, and it was just rough because that was another thing is there was our bar entrance that you could go in and out of, but no other no guests could go in and out of that.
Yeah.
So I was a pirate in front of that entrance quite a few nights where I had to tell people no, the exit is where the dead body is.
Things you never thought you'd say in your life.
The exit is where the dead body is. Now we ran into in the what was it, in the swamp house. At Dark Horizon.
Murder Island.
Yes.
Oh, is that where you guys ran into me?
Yes.
What part of Murder Island was I at? Because I don't know. I was in all of the houses.
I want to say it was like near the porch area.
Okay.
Is where we ran into you. And because we ran into you, we ran into Jackie, Lurleen. There were like 4 or 5 people that we knew in that house. And it was hilarious because we didn't know anybody in the pirate house. We didn't know anybody in the voodoo house. But as soon as we stepped into Murder Island, I was like, I know everybody in this house.
Okay. I think my favorite spot was in the front of the pirate ship. But then, yeah. I know because I was at a few places. And there was one night in Murder Island that my costume looked like this little like beggar, like old fashioned like beggar boy back in the day, where like because I had a guy's shirt on, so it went over my hands. So if I held my hands out like this, like a beggar, it just like the sleeves flipped over, and I had this like newspaper boy hat on. So that turned into my scare of the night, where I would just lean forward and be like, please, could you spare a bit of beans? And people would freak out. I don't know if that's where you guys saw me at, or if it was like more in the store area. I can't remember.
I know it was I'm pretty sure it was the porch area, and then we definitely ran into you in the pirate house at one point too. So we ran into you in a couple of different spots.
I do know where you ran into me. You ran into me in the spot that wasn't actually a spot, that they just kind of went, hey.
Invented.
That's why I said, like, little Hans will be like, oh, you want to work for the night? We'll find you a spot. And I think it was on the porch of that actual house where I got to jump over that railing so many times. Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
Yes.
Because right outside of that, I had my little beans place, and that's why everybody that I worked with used to call me Beans. And so I got the nickname Beans, and I loved it because we also, instead of like horror nights where they kind of announce like one character of the year and everything else, like they had a whole award ceremony for all of us on our last night. And it was so great because they would do like best scare, like person that's like been there the most, like just, and they'd had different, and it was through every group. It wasn't just through the like regular characters or the swings, like because we had swings, regular characters, the backups, and they went through every category on best scare, this, that, and other, and they'd call them up. And cool. That was one thing that I got, and out of 10 years of working horror nights, I never felt that great until that night, where I think it was best scare. And out of all the people they called up before me, I was like, no way you guys are putting me in the same category.
And so they totally did.
Oh, they did. And I walked up to go get like my certificate, because it was all like on microphone. They have you all walk up there, like it's a whole ceremony.
Aww.
And I was like in tears already, but everybody started chanting Beans. And I was like, dude, I love it though. This is my home. I love this. Like, oh, there's nothing like it. It's so great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well,
that's why I don't think I'd ever go back to horror nights after everything that. I'm not gonna knock them as much, but I had such a great experience working a small haunt that I don't think I would go back to a big one.
I can respect that.
Yeah, I got my reputation at the big one, but I I don't need the reputation for the amount of support that I had from the little one.
Yeah. It was like I said, you can't compare the two really because
they're two different levels.
They're very two different levels. I enjoy them both for different reasons. You know, I enjoy the actors in the haunts for different reasons. I enjoy the sets for different reasons. I enjoy the scares for different reasons. But I will say, and this is actually echoed in the chat, is that the media night for Dark Harbor was probably one of the best that we were able to attend. And it was amazing. It was really, they had some really like awesome full costumed meet and greets. They had, you know, drinks and food, and you could just kind of hang out for a little while. You know, you could kind of talk to everybody. It was just a very, very cool experience. And the way that the haunt was set up itself with all the houses and the interactions and everything was just, it exceeded what we expected going into that. And I think that was awesome, and I can't wait for them to come back next year.
Oh yeah.
I look forward to seeing them when I finally get to.
We're gonna take you with us, just so you know, Josh. Just saying.
Okay, sounds good.
It's happening. It's happening. Damn it. And then, of course, you know, Horror Nights, if it does happen this year, because nothing has been announced anywhere yet. You know, yeah. I don't know if we're gonna hit that or not, just because we don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's all rumors at this point.
Yep. And everything's just been up in the air, and everything's getting canceled left and right. And it's just, nobody knows anything about anything right now.
Yeah.
Until Universal announces something, nothing's set in stone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am gonna let you guys go. We've been at this for a while, so I want to, of course, thank you both so much for hanging out this evening and chatting with us about haunts and people and the thing that you guys do that we appreciate very much.
Absolutely.
No problem.
It's awesome to be on.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a part 2, and then we'll get your dad on too, and the four of us will sit down and we'll all have a good old chat.
That sounds good.
He can steal the show, except for this. Like, well, probably when you get him on, it won't be, because right now I know it's like dark out there right now. It's completely light outside here, so I'm like, yay! It's 7:30 here right now, so.
Oh wow.
Jeez. Yeah, we're at what, 9:30 I think here already.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know, Josh, you got stuff to do. Heather,
yeah, I gotta get out of here
at all. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys in the chat. And then, you know, of course, until next time, boys and girls, make sure that you keep it spooky.
Bye.